At the Helm.
An up-close, informative, and revealing look at the work of the men and women tasked with running the affairs of state. Wide-ranging and in-depth interviews with the policymakers responsible for economic development and nation building.
At the Helm.
An unvarnished and candid discussion with the power brokers on government policy and the pocketbook matters confronting St. Lucian citizens.
At the Helm.
Intriguing, insightful, and instructive. Hello and welcome to At the Helm. I am Winston Springer, and with me is the Deputy Prime Minister. The Minister is also the Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services, and Transport. He is Mr. Philip J. Pierre. Welcome to At the Helm, Mr. Pierre. First, let me congratulate you and your government and colleagues on all those involved in the independence celebrations in what was undoubtedly the most patriotic, inspiring, and successful observance of our country's independence ever, I think.
Thank you very much.
You have been in office since 2011, so it's about 2 years now. 2 years going on 3. In reintroducing you to our people, may I ask, who is Philip J. Pierre? What does he stand for, principally? And who and what has been your inspiration in devoting yourself to public service?
Well, first of all, Winston, let me thank you for having me here today. Who is Philip J. Pierre? Philip J. Pierre is a pretty simple guy. He's St. Lucian. We went to school at St. Mary's College, the RC Boys School, attended the University of the West Indies, did all the normal things, the usual things that young people do. My parents, my mother was a school teacher, Evelyn M. Pierre. She taught most of her life at the Ave Maria School. She taught there for over 45 years. My dad was Auguste M. Pierre. He was a cop, he was a policeman. Again, spent more than over 45 years as a police. I am my mother's only child, but my dad had a first marriage. His first wife passed away, and he had children with his first wife, but I'm my mother's only child. I left school. I worked for a while. I taught at St. Mary's College for a short while. Then I went to the University of the West Indies, returned. I was possibly the first university graduate who went to work in the private sector. I went to work for J.Q. Charles, and what they called a manager trainee. I worked at J.Q. Charles. Then I left J.Q. Charles and I went into accounting. I worked for international accounting firm of Panelka Foster and Coopers and Libran. I did that for a few years, started doing the professional exams. Then left and decided that I wanted to do some more studying. But before we did that, I went into a business with a school acquaintance of mine, and we ran a business. Then I went to do my master's, and I went back to work for myself, this time on my own, run an enterprise called Philip J. Pierre Business Services Limited, where we did management consultancy, we did some tax consultancy, we did some work for regional bodies. We basically helped businesses grow. There are some businesses now that have got pretty big. They started with my feasibility study, the work we did for them. We had quite a large, diverse group of clients both in St. Lucia and in regional countries. And lo and behold, one day I was at my home and I got called by Julian Hunt and said he had a seat for me. I wanted a seat. What kind of seat? I didn't know Julian was in the business of giving seats.
Giving seats away.
Yeah. Only to find out he was talking about a seat in elections.
Castries East.
But during that time, I'd known Julian Hunt. In fact, I got acquainted with Julian Hunt in 1982. And then in the between 82 and 87, I got acquainted with Julian, and I was with him. In fact, we were friends, and then he was in the politics. Even though Julian, well, during that time, Julian is always was always in politics. Yeah. So I got involved in the party, the Labour Party, and in 1987 I was actively involved in the campaign. That time, in my constituency, the candidate was Elijah Greenidge. Yeah. Elijah Greenidge in the election in 87 as an integral part of his campaign, and Elijah Greenidge lost. Then there was another election in 87, and Elijah Greenidge also lost. Yeah. I got introduced to the harsh realities of politics from that time, because everybody said to Elijah, "You're a nice guy," yeah, but they didn't vote for him. And I remember Elijah's theme was "God bless you."
God bless you. Yeah. God bless us all.
God bless. and nobody, and Elijah lost. Elijah lost miserably. Yeah. So after in the 1992 elections, I was at my home. I said, minding my business, involved in the politics. At that time, I'd risen to be treasurer of the party, and I was not intending to run a seat. And Julian said to me, Julian's office was in the building that was a ward building. It's now owned by Fix. That building there, you remember the building I said before, right? Yeah. That was the office of the opposition. Julian Hunt was leader of the opposition.
That's right.
So so Julian held a meeting with some people from Castries East. Some of these people are still around, Lillian and Magna, these people. And he called me and they said, "I have a seat for you." So I said, "I wonder what is Julian talking about?" And then I only to know that the seat was Castries East. 1992, so that's 1991. The elections were called in 1992, and I was a candidate for Castries East. Yeah. And if I can tell you, Winston, I didn't know where the polling stations were. That was how ridiculous it was. I didn't know where the polling stations were. Yeah. And during that time, the politics of opposition was rough politics. You see, and that's something I always say in St. Lucia, that we should really take some time out to look at the history, and the history in terms of the facts of the history, and not what we perceive it to be, but deal with the facts. And then the history, and I think politicians should write more of their experiences, because people only see us in the light of what they read in the newspapers, and now a new phenomenon of talk shows. So we are seeing in the eyes of talk show hosts what talk show hosts think about us. That's what people think about us. But really, politicians should really write their memoirs and tell people exactly, especially the younger generation.
So you had a rough time in 92?
Very rough. In fact, between 1987 and 92, we could not hold a meeting in Miku. I remember wanting to go into Miku, and we had to stay at the top, at the top of the hill. We couldn't go in, because you really could not go into Miku. It was territory that you could not go in between, particularly between the years just before 87, up in that when the Labour Party had made the debacle in 82, 83, 84. I mean, you could not go in. This was unheard territory. So in 92, we went to the elections, and it was really rough for me. Well, I did not expect to win. And I was running against a guy called, God bless his soul, Romanus Lancico.
That's right.
Romanus Lancico was arguably the most popular politician at the time. Yeah. Romanus was a guy with several talents. One of his biggest talents was the ability to do good PR. Yeah. And so Romanus was someone, in fact, I remember friends of mine thinking I was a madman when I was told to run against Romanus. I mean, consider I was mad. But that time, Winston, I had not, as I said to you, I didn't know where the polling stations were. The Labour Party didn't have any T-shirts. When you see people tell you things, again, the history, at that time, the only people who had T-shirts were the United Workers' Party. They're the ones who had proper T-shirts. We couldn't afford T-shirts. I mean, we used to be in all colors, all kind of T-shirts. We couldn't afford it. I remember one day driving down the Marshall Main Road, and then seeing there was a guy called Mentor, who had a house that was Romanus's headquarters. And I remember Sunday driving, and I'm seeing Romanus pulling up with a vehicle called a super carry, driven by a fellow called Guy Gonzague. Then if you know Guy Gonzague, run singer. Yeah. And that was filled with T-shirts to the brim.
And you had nothing?
And I had nothing. T-shirts were flowing out of this thing. I mean, I felt so deflated. And the teachers had his picture on them, had his picture, vote Romanes Lancico, and then the full, and we had nothing. So I lost.
Yeah.
To look at the wrong search, I lost. But you know, I'm a student of social sciences, and I always knew that politics is about numbers. Winning elections are about getting more votes. And there are certain things that you know you will not get. So in any electoral contest, you must understand, because of our democracy, some people just will not vote for you.
Yes, certainly.
You understand? So even though you pave the streets in gold, some people will not vote for you. That's the beauty of our system. I learned that from a rather early age in politics.
But what has been your inspiration? Who has been your inspiration? Because from 1992, you have devoted yourself to public service.
Before 92.
And or has it been your parents? Because I mean, you are two parents. Your two parents combined in terms of years to public service,
Nearly
almost
100.
90 years or more. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. I was fortunate in that most politicians like to give sad stories of their upbringing, and maybe they give it's in style to see. I was fortunate. I had quite an okay upbringing in terms of the good thing with me, I didn't enter politics with any grudge. I didn't hate anybody. I wasn't in politics because the system that did me something, or I thought there was something that the system owed me that I did not get. And so I didn't enter politics with any burden on my shoulder. This is when Julian called me in 1991 and said, I will sit for you. I just went along.
Sorry, sir, let me apologize here, but we need to take a break now. We'll be back in a moment. This is At the Helm. I am Winston Springer, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Hi. Alcohol use leads to accidents, violent acts, and regret. I am Mr. Pringles, the energy god of radio. I don't drink and will not start because of pressure from friends or society. Think for yourself. Remember, it's your responsibility.
A message from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat, sponsored in part by CaribbeanCaress.com and this station.
This is At the Helm. I am Winston Springer, and with me is the Deputy Prime Minister of this country. He's also the Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services and Transport. When we took the break, Mr. Minister, we were speaking to your inspiration to get involved in public service. Could you expand on what you're saying?
Well, you see, Winston, it's a point I want to make. Politicians have been branded. It happens every day. People believe that politicians are all sorts of things, but some politicians genuinely want to assist people. They genuinely want to improve people's quality of life. Nothing pleases me more than when I get a card from a school child who says, "Dear parliamentary rep, thanks for helping me with my lessons," or thanks, because in the constituency, I do many things. I do anything. I have a good contact with people, but I'm not someone who likes the publicity and etc. Most of the time. In fact, incidentally, I'm a very shy individual, which is most people don't know when they see the platform performances and things. But basically, I'm extremely shy. As you should know.
But there's a split personality in the politician, and the private person.
Well, I don't know if it's split. I think it's a different personality.
Yeah.
But people like castigate politicians and these politicians and politicians are human beings. But I think what happens is that most people put themselves. They think if they were you, what they would be doing. Yeah, and they assume because you have what they perceive to be power and what they perceive to be influence. Most of the time they see you in their own eyes, and they assume that you are doing what they would do if they were you. You understand? So that is where a blanket castigation of politicians, you understand? Yeah. You can't have a blanket accusation on priests. You cannot have a blanket accusation on journalists. You can't have a blanket on anybody. Politicians are human beings who live in a society. But the perception that that what you're doing, most of the time, is a manifestation of their own thoughts, their own feelings, and their own what they would have done if they were you. So what got me into into service? I was pretty comfortable. I went to politics in my house. I had cars. I was pretty comfortable. I mean, I made money. Nobody did me anything to see I wonder if I had a grudge or vengeance, or I thought I had a God-given right to anything. But I thought, listen to me, if you've lived in a society that has been good to you, I went to school, I went to university, my parents paid for me, but the government paid the economic costs. I went to secondary school on a scholarship, and I thought that, listen, why can't you help in that society? And I had a fundamental difference between my thoughts and why for the country was going at the time under the United Works Party. I thought the country could have gone differently. I thought that there could have been more emphasis on human development. I thought there could have been more emphasis on education, on education that is relative and relevant. I thought there was need for a different people to control the power in this country. I thought it was time where children, regular children, had aspirations. They could have thought that one day I will be prime minister, or one day I'll be a minister. It wasn't the domain of some people, or some people who supported
certain people.
Yes, yeah. Or certain people who supported certain people. You see? So I thought, I went into it. And I'll tell you what, I can't see that I have regretted. It has been tough. Financially, I've taken a beating. Financially, I have been accused wrongly. I have been categorized what I'm not. I mean, only this morning I had an incident, if you can dive with a bit. Somebody called and accused the Ministry of Infrastructure of not fixing the roads after Wasco. Somebody called and said, the Ministry of Infrastructure is in charge of fixing the roads after Wasco has damaged them. That is not true at all. I mean, we work with Wasco. Wasco tries their best, but that's not our business. So I called and I said so. I said, listen, we talked to Wasco, but it's not our responsibility. Somebody can say, what the guy says is not true. Because infrastructure is in charge of Wasco, which is not true either. But
this is the age of the talk shows. And,
yes.
And in a sense, I have always said that. It's like the blind leading the blind, because it doesn't seem that the talk show hosts themselves are informed, adequately informed, as to pass on the information. Or for some reason they just don't pass on the relevant information, because you get stuck in this.
Wasco is under the Ministry of Public Utilities, nothing in infrastructure. But the guy was adamant.
Yeah, and speaking to that, Mr. Minister, as we go through, because time is out, give us an update on the post-trough and Hurricane Thomas reconstruction projects while you're on this same
well,
topic.
if I can just finish on this.
And then go into that.
So that's what caused me to enter politics. But I can assure you, not with any grudge. Up to now, I don't hate anybody. There's no politician I hate. I have differences with some politicians. I think some people in politics should not be there. I really think so. Some people may feel the same thing about me. And I don't think anybody owes me anything. You understand? I don't think I have any God-given right to anything, you see? And I can walk away. You see? Because I've ensured that in my political behavior, I've conducted myself in a way that I can walk away.
And you could have a life after politics.
Probably
which is most difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah. In fact,
a lot of
I lived in opposition after between 2006 and 2011. I mean, we lost the elections in December 2006. I was in my office on the 18th of December 2006 working. Okay, I lived, so that's one. Back to Hurricane,
Thomas, yeah. On the trough, on the post-trough, and Hurricane Thomas reconstruction, because when you went into office,
we were just dealing with Hurricane Thomas.
And then the trough hit.
Came right away.
Yeah, so you had a double whammy in a sense of one after the other, because the reconstruction after Hurricane Thomas was incomplete. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of work left to be done.
Hadn't even really started.
Okay.
Hurricane Thomas was a real serious weather event. It was an event that was unprecedented. People hadn't seen that before. Hurricane Thomas put the country back. There were losses of probably about $900 million in GDP, about that. In the 3 months after Hurricane Thomas, the government spent $28 million for basically desilting and clearing works, $28 million. So when we went into government, we found that money had been spent, but we also found some of the major infrastructural damage has not been cleared. The Bad Hill had been only one slide had started, work on one side had started in the Bad Hill. The Monroe culverts were not done. They had been done. Some work had been done in Bagatelle. It wasn't completed. When he came, we had to complete it, but it was 90% complete. There was some work in Tiroche that was completed. In terms of bridges, the bridges were the Soufre Bridge had been taken down in December, but not a block had been put to build it. But we found the plans. Truth be told, we found the plans for the Soufre Bridge, which was financed by the CDB. The Crescents Bridge was down. The Bonte Bridge wasn't involved. So all the bridges were down. So we had to deal with that. But so then came hurricane. Then came the Christmas weather event, which augmented our problems there. Some people think that the Christmas weather event was worse in terms of the concentration of rain in a particular period. But I'm not the one to argue that. I'm not in the business.
Arguably, yeah.
But we immediately, when the rain began to fall, our plan was we have to get the country back to work by making the country motorable, by allowing vehicles to be able to traverse the entire country. So we got to work immediately. And in terms of money spending, to date, we've probably spent only $3 million in post-hurricane, post the Christmas weather event. $3 million. We've built 2 new bridges. We've constructed 2 new bridges, brand new ones, in terms of Bailey bridges, because we had imported some Bailey bridges before, because we saw what happened to the Crescents Bridge when the hurricane took it, and the Soufre Bridge when the hurricane took it. So I said, listen to me, why don't you look for a means of temporary bridges in the meantime? So we did that, and then we got criticized heavily for that, but we put it, and then we happened to put down 2 bridges, both the PI Bridge and the Canwis Bridge, in 2 weeks. We put down 2 bridges, and that went okay. So, but right now, we are, in terms of Hurricane Thomas work, we are just doing the remainder of the slides in the Bad Hill. When we were through, there were 10 slides in the Bad Hill, 10 areas that had got damaged. To date, we found 1, and then we've done on our own, we've done 4, and now we are doing 4 more. So there's going to be 1 more slide on the Bad Hill to do, and that will take some investigation, because that slide starts from the interior. I don't even remember whether there was a dip in the road. Yeah. That's where it is. But that came from the interior, so we didn't. Right now, work is progressing there. We have completed, out of that, we've just opened the Deville Bridge, which went down with Hurricane Thomas. We are, anytime now, the next 4 weeks for the most, we are completing the Mocha Bridge, which went down in Hurricane Thomas again, and it got further eroded after Hurricane Thomas, and we had to close it down because of it was safety. But safety was compromised, and it's our position that we have to see about the safety of the people first. So we took it down. It's being completed now. 2 weeks ago, we started work on the Dimai Bridge. That work is going on. We are starting work on the Rory Bridge. That's not anytime now. That's a bridge on the highway to Vieux-Fort. Work has started on the Bois-de-Wange Bridge. That's a World Bank Finance project. Again, that went down during Hurricane Thomas. It got damaged. And we built the Bonte Bridge. The Bonte Bridge was from scratch. We did the Bonte Bridge. That is completed. We've got a few damaged bridges. We also repaired. We also did the Foaso Bridge that came down. We did that. That's Hurricane Thomas aggravated after. Then we are doing another bridge after the Christmas Eve event. The Diamond Bridge is down. The Rivière Mita Bridge is down. The Fonjaye Bridge is down. We have to redo all these. We have to do the Thomasu Bridge is under serious stress. We are starting the Grand Rivière Bridge on Monday. The Grand Rivière Bridge is the bridge on the highway. Yeah. That's starting on Monday. The Grand Rivière Bridge, the Rowley Bridge, and the Dimaye Bridge are being done by ALBA funds. Yeah. Thank you very much, the government of Venezuela. Yeah.
We'll take a break earlier to interrupt you. We're in tune for a break. We'll take it now and be back with At the Helm. And the man at the helm of the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services and Transport is the Deputy Prime Minister of this country, Mr. Philip J. Pierre. We'll be back in a moment.
So?
I went on a date last night. The guy invited me in. I didn't think it was necessary, but then he got upset and then he tried to...
You know how they are. So you better not get yourself into situations where you could become vulnerable.
And you cannot be naive. Always be prepared.
Some of them will knock and knock and knock and...
Some of them will push.
Force.
Some just know what you need to hear.
At the right time.
At the wrong time.
For them.
But I will protect myself.
HIV is deadly. Protect yourself.
The temple of my spirit, the mansion of my soul. Only I can guard it. I am in control.
This message comes from the Ministry of Health's National AIDS Program and the Creole Theatre Workshop.
This is At the Helm, and today I'm speaking with the Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services and Transport, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Mr. Philip J. Pierre. Mr. Pierre, when we took the break, we were talking about the significant amount of work that has to be done by your ministry in reconstruction. One could call it the Ministry of, instead of infrastructure, maybe we should call it the Ministry of Reconstruction, because you have been inundated with reconstruction work since the passage of Hurricane Thomas and the trough in December. I remember hearing one person referring to you as the Minister of Roads and Bridges, R&B. But Mr. Minister, are you the trough? Has it been a significant setback in any way to the ongoing reconstruction efforts by your ministry?
It has been, Winston. It really has been, because we now have to not only rehabilitate, but you have to repair damaged infrastructure. You know, if you go in LEN on the Miku-Vifort Highway, you'll see a spit in the road where the guy died, God bless his soul. That has to be redone. Load on the road in Volée, that has to be done. We have serious issues in Maho. We have farmers who cannot get to their lands because of landslides. This still happens as we speak. Farmers can't get to the land because of landslides. So it has been a very serious setback. And it's particularly now when, in spite of, and I want to thank all the friendly nations and the Foreign Affairs Ministry for the mobilization of that, and the Prime Minister, who's made it his duty to be seeking funds and seeing what can happen. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is out looking for, trying to collect funds. It's hard. In serious fiscal times, we operate under fiscal deficit. There is little money to transfer to capital expenditure. So you have to, so apart from having to build, and the country needs a lot of infrastructure, our roads are in a state that they could have been much better. We have to build new roads. We have to rehabilitate the roads that exist, particularly in the north of the country. The road situation there is horrendous in certain areas, and then we need to do that. So then the hurricane, the Christmas weather event has definitely made the situation worse. Yes.
But also, are you concerned of the unrest in Venezuela? We recently joined ALBA, and we seem to have joined at the right time, because following the trough, we have gotten a significant amount of assistance from ALBA. I just wanted to know whether the unrest in Venezuela might affect, your infrastructure projects.
Well,
and the assistance you get from ALBA.
ALBA's first grant has been in St. Lucia already, and that's what we're using to construct the bridges. Of course, we're concerned about what's happening in Venezuela, but these are the internal affairs of Venezuela, and it's not the first time that countries have had internal squabbles. I mean, this is the nature of politics.
Yeah.
There are internal squabbles all the time, but we hope Venezuela soon comes back to normal. But we must not be naive about the situation in Venezuela. Venezuela has the world's largest resources of oil in the world. Venezuela also, the oil in Venezuela is manageable. They say it's very near the surface, and the temperature is good. So it doesn't need much drilling. So Venezuela is a pearl.
Yeah.
So you must not be naive and look at everything. Look at all the things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of geopolitics going on.
Yes,
there.
yes. Because Venezuela it has the world's largest reserves of oil.
That's
it's
right.
a fact. I mean, we went to war in Iraq. You understand?
Yeah.
So we must not be naive and look at the situation in Venezuela only from the point of view that we want to look at it.
Recently, the Mali Bridge, is this correct pronunciation?
Yes, the Mali Bridge.
Which was extensively damaged during the passage of Hurricane Thomas, in October 2010.
Yes.
Was rebuilt by your government at a cost of $1.7 million.
No, it's been rebuilt.
Oh, been rebuilt.
Yes,
we've grown funding from ALBA.
As we speak, yeah.
Can you tell us what are the projects that are ongoing?
From ALBA?
From ALBA.
The Grindway Bridge is going to start on Monday, the sorting ceremony on Monday. That came from ALBA. And the Rory Bridge, which is a bridge on the on the Viewfort Cashwich Highway. I don't know if you remember where there's a wine where the guy makes some wine. There's a place where local wine is bottled.
Yeah.
On the way to Viewfort, there are two bridge railings, white railings.
Yeah.
That bridge there.
Okay.
So
the term roads and bridges is adequately,
free bridges.
You have been at pains to explain the process of awarding contracts. One thing I must say, in the last 2 years, you have tried to be as transparent as possible. But there still is a lot of criticism from opposition forces surrounding the cost of the Bonte and Bois-de-Wange bridges. In as quick time as possible, because we have so much else to cover, explain once again to the doubters the process of awarding contracts.
I don't know if it's doubters or mischief makers.
Let's go with mischief makers instead.
Yeah. The Bois-de-Wange Bridge, the process has been repeated. It's simple. The Bois-de-Wange Bridge is not financed by the government. It's financed by the World Bank funds. The World Bank has certain criteria under which contracts are awarded, and the Bois-de-Wange Bridge was awarded purely under the World Bank criteria. There are tenders, there are consultants. The World Bank gives a no objection. That means they say that the consultants are fine. Then you go to tender. You go to world tender. It's a global tender. People from anywhere in the world can tender because it's a World Bank project. Then at the global tender, then there are invitations to tender. Then their tenderers are shortlisted. Then there's again goes back to the World Bank for no objection. Then it comes back here and an award is made after an evaluation. And the award goes back to the World Bank for no objection. So it's a matter of, this is mischief. Yeah. World Bank projects, it's clear.
Yeah.
And in terms of the Bonte Bridge, let me tell you something, Winston. I have never sat in any negotiations with any contractor. Never. And the technocrats in the ministry can relate to that.
Can attest to that.
Can attest to that. I do not sit in any negotiations with any contractor. Negotiations are done purely by the technical staff, and they brief me. I don't sit in any negotiations with them, with any contractor. I do not. So much so, some contractors get aggrieved, and they talk of arrogance. Is right. Yeah, yeah. The Bonte Bridge was costed and designed by independent consultants. The ministry did not do the costing for the bridge. The ministry had nothing to do with that. It was done by independent consultants. The cost for the Bonte Bridge was calculated by independent consultants, not ministry engineers. Then the ministry supervised the project, and it was awarded to a contractor who, in the ministry's mind, and after negotiations, was best suited to do the contract based on a price that was determined by consultants. It's clear.
It's clear.
It's not the ministry. Consultants, independent consultants, are the ones who did the costing for the Bonte Bridge.
Okay, well, let's go ahead, because we have so much to talk about that is more informative than reliving.
And by the way, and the Bonte Bridge, well, that's the first time rain.
Yes,
there's such a rain event.
The people in the area, the people in the area, have spoken very highly of the work that was done there, because for once,
the first time,
for once, their homes were not flooded.
For the first time.
Okay. Recently, we saw the unveiling of the new DeVille Bridge in Soufriere. The government has plans to undertake a number of projects under the build, finance, construct process. Can you explain this process?
Yeah. I told you earlier the country's gone through some fiscal.
Yes, hard times.
So we have now to look at ways and means, because you have bridges and etc. It's called capital expenditure. Now, a country's budget is got the capital and the current. Current is daily goods and services, wages, salaries to civil servants, purchase of supplies, gasoline for the vehicle, etc. That's current. And capital is a building of bridges, roads, schools, hospitals, schools, etc. That's capital. Incidentally, the government says we've built an extension to the Miku school. A lot of people have forgotten that.
Yeah.
You understand? This government, we've done extension to the Miku school, something that was needed for a long time ago. And we haven't even discussed the amount of money we've spent in the repairs of schools. We painted almost every school building in the country during the school year.
When you say almost, as how many schools, sir?
That is arguably near 65 to 70 schools were repainted in 2012. They were repainted, right? The repairs, the state of the school plants is alarming in certain areas when you consider the amount of money that's been spent on school repairs. There are a lot more work to be done as we speak. We are paving the Ansari school, Ansari primary and infant school. We are paving the grounds for the children to have a better place to play. We are competing the Miku, the school in Miku. We've had to repair toilets and sewage systems in the Miku secondary school. That was an outcry before. We've had to do complete sewage systems in several of the schools. Electricals, we had to redo the electricals in the Anglican infant school. We had to redo the electricals, a lot of electrical work in the RC boys school. I mean, we done a lot of electrical work in the schools. I mean, the state of the school plants, it was also made worse by Hurricane Thomas and the trough, Yeah. We've had the Canary School. You know about the Canary School, moved away completely. We've moved the students, and then we have to build a wall around the Canary School. So back to, there's so much to say about what is happening, what has happened over the last 2 years. Let's get back to the bill finance.
Yeah.
So incidentally, there's a lot of confidence in the St. Lucia government. Investors, people are knocking at the door every day, asking to build things in St. Lucia under PPP partnership arrangements. Yeah. So what happens is that a private sector body or private sector firm finances the project. The government either designs it, the government designs and supervises, or in some cases, the private sector body finances and designs. But we rather design and supervise ourselves because it's cheaper and we can use some of our staff and local consultants. So that's what happens. So the private sector body does that, and the government pays them over a period of time. But there are certain things that this government will not do. Number one, we will go with no advance payments for a finance bill operation. What happened in the last independent city, Ravin Shabbat Roads, was $2.1 million were paid out before anything had happened. One in a mobilization fee, and another one in an advance certificate. Now, let's make it clear. The advance certificate doesn't mean that the contractor is given money. The contractor is given a certificate so he can go to get money. right? So that means if the contractor had money in the first place, why would he want to get a certificate to go and get money? You see, so that's not happening. So right as we speak, we are doing 2 bridges by the finance bill method. We intend to do the roads in Choiseul. The roads in Choiseul are in a terrible state. Darban, Balka, Fiat, Montjac, and Park Estate roads. They are in a terrible state. I want to apologize to the people who live in these areas. The roads are terrible, Winston, really bad. We are doing these. We don't want to do it on a finance bill. We have done the miniatures and all the designs, and very hopefully we should start these roads, some of these roads, by March or April this year. That's going to be a very good news to the people of Choiseul. I want to apologize for them for having a bad of this for these roads. But these roads have been bad for ages.
We'll take a break here on that note. This is At the Helm. The man at the helm of your Ministry of Infrastructure, and you could call it reconstruction because there's so much reconstruction work to be done in this country, is your Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Philip J. Pierre. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, have you heard about biodiversity? Do you know what it means? It's more than just a variety of plants and animals. It's about the natural link that all life on this planet share, including you and me. So if you do anything to harm this natural link, you're actually harming yourself in the long run. When nature is abundant, so are we. Think about this natural link, because what is done to our biodiversity is done to us all.
This is At the Helm, and my guest today is the Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services and Transport. He's also the island's Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Philip J. Pierre. Mr. Pierre, your government has expressed concern about the widening fiscal deficit and its impact on capital works projects. How is the government achieving this balance? For example, meeting its obligations, paying down the debt, and rebuilding the nation's infrastructure?
Well,
it must be a task.
You're very right, Winston. You see, the economy now is the arithmetic of the economy. Economies are now measured by arithmetic, which is very sad. That's something I agree with. And what matters now is the arithmetic, the ratios, current accounts ratios, GDP ratios, and sometimes that can come at a cost of human development. It's a very painful reality. You understand? Sometimes
serious balance. How are you going to balance that? How are you going to balance this act?
And in small islands, it's very, very difficult. The fiscal deficit is real. The deficit probably came down a little, but it's probably about 6.5 or that nature. And prudent financial management based on IMF procedure and criteria, the deficit, you ought to have balanced books. But you can live with a 2% deficit, so you can live with it, but you ought to have balanced books. So human development and capital development suffers. What we've tried to do is we've tried to go capital development by doing the PPP model. But what the Prime Minister of Finance has done is he has squeezed a lot from the capital. And that is why it is extremely important that government funds are used for what they are designated for. It is very important that there can be no squandermania or corruption with government funds. There can be no reckless abuse of government funds. There must not be any ifs or buts of how government funds are spent. There must be complete accountability and transparency in the use of government resources, because these resources are very scarce. Also, there must be accountability in the use of money from friendly countries, because the friendly countries, their taxpayers are the ones who are making that money available. So it's not a matter of, it's not your money, it's your money. Because if these taxpayers rebel, and listen to me, they say to the political rulers that they are not, don't give that money again. So you have to use, and that's why it's important that we use funds from the government of Taiwan, that happens to be one of our largest donors these days. That money must be accounted for, and this is why the Prime Minister insists that the money is going to the Constituency Development Fund, and insists that the Taiwanese ambassador, he comes to see how his money has gone. And I want to tell you, that money has been extremely useful. Only today, I was in Ansari getting ready to turn the sword for lights in Ansbury playing field. That's the first fancy, and these lights are world class. So you see, it's important that in these fiscal times there is proper accountability, there is proper transparency, and there is an eradication of malfeasance and corruption.
Okay, let's turn to the politics. I mean, I must ask you, because it'd be remiss of me if the people of Castres East didn't hear of what's going on in their constituency that you represent. For instance, I work on the Ravin-Chabot Road. This project has been beset by a lot of legal trouble. What is your ministry? How is your ministry to resolve this matter, or resolving this matter?
It took some time, because you know, when you're in government, you have to make sure that you do things the correct way. No matter how aggrieved you feel personally, you have to make sure you stay within the law in the right way. I felt for these people
because the thing is right in front of you. Huh?
Yes, it's a few yards away from me, and then it was very, 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 very hurtful to see what happened there. But I'm pleased to tell you that as we speak, work is going on the wall, on the Gabion wall. That's going to be completed in about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we're going to move on to reinstate the road. So the people of Independence City, Ravin-Chabot, although they could have passed in Independence City, but they wanted to pass on their main road. Yeah. So they're going to be able to pass there very, very, very shortly.
What about other major projects in that constituency?
Oh, major projects. I'm glad you use the word major because many things happen. One that's been very close to my heart is a multi-purpose court for the young people of Pavi.
Yeah.
Vincent, you may not know.
That has been spoken about for a while.
From 1974.
I know that that has been a major concern
of yours. And in 2006, we acquired the land for it, but it was quashed by the new government. So 2006, 2011, the land was there, the government squashed it. They refused to build a court.
The governing United Workers' Party?
Yes, they refused to build it. But I'm very happy to tell you, on Independence Day, there was a Socorama in the courts.
Yeah.
And then the young people are very happy. We haven't officially opened it yet.
Yeah.
They couldn't wait to use it. So they've been using it, and so we've opened. We will open. We have a grand ceremony to open it. Still and we did some roads in there. Still on public facilities, on sporting public facilities. We have redone the Marshall grounds completely.
Yes,
it's a world-class ground now. I mean, it's rivaling.
And it's supposed to be lights there and whatnot.
On Tuesday, we turn this on for lights. If you go in there right now, you'll see lights works go on the lights. And we built some new changing rooms and some new toilets. What's left to be done to world class is to redo the pavilion, which we're going to do in due course within the fiscal realities of our time. So the Marshall Grounds is really a project that I'm very, very happy about because Vincent, you know that. Yeah. I mean, the amount of sportsmen who have come from that ground, the amount of broken limbs and broken legs because of the state of that ground. Yeah. Now the ground is a world-class ground, and that is really a crowning moment for the people of Castres East. Some things that need to be done have not been done. The people in the George Charles Boulevard, they wanted some public facilities for long. We are well on the way now. Construction should start on the public facilities in the boulevard sometime this year. I mean, the main facility on the Martian Road, if you see it now, you probably don't know where you are.
Where you are,
yeah. We're going to be building a park. That's a secret which I shouldn't tell you.
You're not telling me, you're sharing it.
I wanted to surprise them.
To surprise them. Okay. We're not going into it. But let me tell you, we have 5 minutes left. You have been in politics, you have been in politics from 1992.
84.
84, sorry. That's a long time. That's when I joined the Labour Party. But in elective politics,
yes,
you were elected in
1997.
97.
Lost in 1992.
Yeah, that's right. You have been many highs and lows. Let's talk to the highs, to the lows first, and then we'll talk to the highs.
The lows was between 2006 and 2011 when my house was shown on television and I was accused of using government funds to build a wall for my house. That was a low.
Because you're a very private person.
Yes.
I mean, apart from
that was,
the public life you live.
That was low, because it was completely false, completely erroneous, that was a low. But I don't want to speak on that matter again, because that matter is in the hands of the courts. Right? But that was a low. That was hurtful, and particularly for my family. That was very hurtful. The highs, a private dinner with Nelson Mandela. Okay. That was the crowning glory of my political life, I think. Having sat down a few inches away from Nelson Mandela and having a meal with him, together with Prime Minister Anthony, Education Minister Mario Michel, Foreign Minister George Odlum, and Earl Huntley. It was a permanent secretary. That was a high. Another high was a 2011 election victory. That in all my election victories, that victory was the most satisfying.
Why?
Because the whole kitchen sink was thrown at me between 2000. I'm arguably the first politician who had an opponent from February 2005. From Carnival February 2005, my opponent set up office next to my drive. Right in my driveway. I had to go through my driveway, through them, to get to my home. And I had that on me from Carnival Sunday 2005, and it ended on November the 29th, 2011. That was the most trying and testing times of my life. Music, blazing next to my home, Philip Kadu, his work, all sorts of names being called, jeered at, going to my house and being jeered and being harassed sometimes. People sitting in my driveway, sitting on my lawn, and I couldn't say anything. That was a low.
And to have overcome all these obstacles.
And to triple my majority, triple it. The whole kitchen sink was full at me, the entire kitchen sink. I mean, everybody was in there. I mean, all what had been said was said. That's when the issue of the wall came, etc. And then I survived that. To me,
you've been a minister of government from 1997 to 2006. And from 2011 to now. Quickly, there have been different challenges. I suppose that the challenge that you face right now in the Ministry of Infrastructure, how does that compare with tourism, commerce, business and development, and whatnot that you have held prior to holding the Ministry of Infrastructure?
Infrastructure,
you can do that in 2 minutes.
Infrastructure is a very tangible ministry. You touch things. Tourism and commerce are more things that you deal more with events and issues that take some time. A tourism marketing doesn't happen today. It takes some time. But infrastructure immediately. Yeah. You build a road, you fix a road.
Things you see.
Tangible.
Yeah.
But infrastructure is the most difficult, in that a lot of people see the Ministry of Infrastructure as an employment agency. Yeah. Infrastructure is always seen as a place where there's a lot of money. You see,
in the days it was communications and works,
right.
And it's had a long history.
Yes, infrastructure is also seen as a place where all ministers on infrastructure have to be looked at closely. Yeah, you understand?
That's tarnished many reputations.
It has. You understand?
Many reputations have tarnished by people who in that ministry.
And then sometimes people just say things about you because they believe you would do it. But so it's the most tested ministry. It's also the largest ministry. It has about 300 odd employees. Wow. You understand? And it's tangible, especially now on the fiscal reality. Yeah. It's difficult to balance it. And every day people go on the roads. Every day people complain about the road. Every day, because they drive on the roads every day. Yeah. You understand?
Like you said, it's tangible. You could see. Yeah.
But
in 1 minute,
tourism.
Go ahead.
Was also tourism. But there are two things I did in tourism. Two small things which I have, because I don't like to shout about being a people's person. I don't make these kind of, people say they are people person, they for the Mali way, and I don't make these kind of statements. Two things I did, tangible. I opened the gates and in the vendors arcade to allow tourists to come from the cruise ship into the vendors arcade. And second, we did the Mon lay-by.
Lay-by, yeah.
That's what we did.
In just about 30 seconds, what would you like to say to the people of St. Lucia in terms of the challenges that we face in the reconstruction efforts and whatever advice you have for them.
First of all, Vincent, I really want to thank the people of Castries East for the confidence they've displayed in me. I want to thank the President Prime Minister for having the confidence in me to give me the positions that I have, and my colleagues. I've made some very, very good colleagues in cabinet. We've got a very good cabinet. My constituency group, the people who work with me, some of them have been with me from 1992 when I first ran the seat, and I want to thank them. I want to tell the people of St. Lucia to deal with positivity. Let us stop taking our country down a path of negativity. Let us stop looking at the glass always half empty. St. Lucia is a beautiful country with a lot of potential. Let us work together to see if we can build this country in trying times. But I believe in the resilience of the people of St. Lucia. I have faith in St. Lucia, and I want all of us to forget the negativity that you hear every day. Look at the facts, be positive, and we'll survive these trying times.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. This has been At the Helm, the first in a series of programs with various government ministers who are being tried and tested against the harsh realities of the financial life of the world today with running this country. Today, we've been speaking to Mr. Philip J. Pierre, who is your Deputy Prime Minister, also the Minister for Infrastructure, Port Services and Transport. I am Winston Springer. Goodbye.
At the Helm.
An up-close, informative, and revealing look at the work of the men and women tasked with running the affairs of state. Wide-ranging and in-depth interviews with the policymakers responsible for economic development and nation building.
At the Helm.
An unvarnished and candid discussion with the power brokers on government policy and the pocketbook matters confronting St. Lucian citizens.
At the Helm.
Intriguing, insightful, and instructive.